Yeah, I got a meeting upstairs, so.
It's the first of the year, so
Morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Remember to attenuate, even better, mute your devices that make noise. And if you have anything for us, please give it to Mr. Curran, the Sergeant at Arms.
Good morning.
We will start with the invocation given by Reverend Marlo Fritzky, and then the pledge by Thaddeus Hackworth. Reverend.
Happy New Year to you all, and thank you for your service on our behalf. I appreciate that so very much. Let's pray. Oh, gracious Father, we come to you on the beginning of this year for this group of men and women who serve us, who lead and oversee so many parts of our county. We thank you, Father, for their service. We thank you for them. We ask that they would have a wonderful year as they start. We ask that you might bless them, that you might lead them, that you might guide them, that you might give discernment and wisdom. Allow them to discuss the things that need to be discussed. But Father, at the end of the day, may they always come to a consensus and to unity. And Father, may they have wisdom that goes beyond them. May they have compassion and mercy. May they know your goodness and may they know your love. And Father, may you bless them. Bless them for serving, bless them for leading, bless them for the responsibilities. And Father, we ask that you might give your divine assistance to each and every one. May this be a joy and not a burden. May this be something that causes them to bless others. And Father, in all things, may you protect them and give them your goodness through this whole year. For it's in your name I ask it. Amen.
Amen. Before we go to the pledge, I should note that if you wish to hear more from Reverend Fritzky, you can find him at the First Baptist Church in St. Joseph. And did he get a pen?
I have it.
Don't leave without your pen. Thank you, Thaddeus.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bell,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Elliott,
Here.
Freeling. Here. Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman, Majerick,
Here.
Meeks, Scott,
Here.
Borath,
Here.
Weirful. Here. Yarborough.
What are we, 4, 6, 11 present? 10. John and, oh, that's right, okay. Minutes from a few weeks ago, the 16th, need to be approved. Moved by Volrath, supported by Scott. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, I understand we have some communications.
Yes, Karen Valenti, Hager Township, email received January 3rd, addressed to Sheriff Bailey and copied to the Board of Commissioners regarding being a constitutional sheriff. Eaton County Board of Commissioners, email received January 3rd, Resolution 21-12-125, resolution to condemn federal vaccine and testing mandates dated December 15th, 2021. Seth King, Stevensville, email received January 4th, letter regarding the county requiring the COVID vaccination or testing of its employees. That's it.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is election of a vice chair. Does anyone wish to put any names in nomination, Ezra?
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I'd like to thank the Board of County Commissioners for allowing me to be the vice chair for the last 2 years. I was very humbled. But at this point in time, I would like to make a nomination to nominate Commissioner Terry Freeling for vice chair. And I would also like to make a motion that the nominations be closed and we cast a unanimous vote for Commissioner Freeling for vice chair.
Is there any truth to the rumor that she twisted your arm so hard that you're in a sling?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
This was done in South Bend.
right.
Not in Baroda.
All right. Okay, just wondered.
May I support that motion?
Yes, ma'am. You're supporting the nomination of Commissioner Freeling as vice chair and also moving to close nominations and
Yes.
cast a unanimous vote for Commissioner Freeling as vice chair. Is that correct?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, did you get all that? Okay. We don't have to do a roll call. You can if you want, but I think we can also do it by acclamation. Is it okay with everyone to do it by acclamation?
I'm good.
All right, therefore, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign. Congratulations, Terry.
Congratulations. Good.
Next, committees and committee assignments. Does anybody have any problem if we just keep doing what we've been doing? Okay, then the committee chairs are the committee chairs. The committee membership is as it was when we last met, and we'll just keep on going with that. Seems to be working pretty well. If anyone at any time has a desire to switch and someone else wants to switch, we can always do that. We aren't locked in, but I appreciate the benefits of getting exposure to different committees. And I think in due course, we'll make sure that happens. So the committee chair for admin is Jim, for PHS is Bob, for finance is Mamie. The committee chairs will designate their vice chairs in their discretion. And the next thing is requisition and resolution review, and we have Annette.
All right, so I held off on the two finance ones because I didn't know what the committee was gonna make it was gonna be, so that's the reason why we did this part afterwards. So I have the bills, the weekly bills for finance, they'll need to have them signed. And then also the road payables, those both go to finance. So I'm gonna hand those to you guys. Thank you. And then the requisitions I sent out and mostly filled with a lot of blankets for, as usual, at the beginning of a new year, end of a previous one. Does anybody have any questions about any of the requisitions? All right, well, I'm gonna keep the list with me because it's very lengthy and just pass around these two items for your signatures on that. And that's all for that.
All right. Thanks, Annette.
Mhm.
Calendar. By default, we'll meet every Thursday. If we need to meet at other times, we can do that on relatively short notice. The Open Meetings Act says a minimum of 18 hours notice if we have to meet quickly. I don't think I mentioned the appointments for chaplain, parliamentarian, and sergeant at arms will stay as they are if you're all willing to continue and be compensated accordingly.
Thank you, God.
Mr. Chair, and to the board, under the calendar, your staff has worked to try and provide a best guess on the proposed night meetings. So I just want to take a second to make sure that you've looked at that and that what we've inserted there makes sense. We've tried to run with the assumption that there is a desire for some night meetings, but on the location, some decisions will need to be made on where you want to be, and if you are looking at alternative locations across the county, our ability to stream that meeting will be an issue.
The more remote in terms of signal strength, the more likely we can't stream it on YouTube then.
But simply, if you do it here or at the conference room, you can stream it on YouTube. If we do any type of outreach to a township location, to
Love Creek.
a park, our ability to stream the meeting will be limited at best.
Okay.
Yeah.
The camera setup, like that. That's part of the reason. I don't know if we has a camera in there.
I don't know either.
I'd like to ask something. We've always done Love Creek, Madeline Bertrand. I liked being at Silver Beach. Is that a possibility? Was that a lot of work? Too much work?
So that was a great time.
That was a good meeting.
It was lovely.
So just to be clear, we can go wherever the board wants. The point I'm trying to make is that if you go to one of the parks, if you do an outdoor session, our ability to provide video recording and then stream it onto the internet is an issue. But if you're comfortable with just having a regular meeting where it's just standard meeting minutes, then
Yes.
absolutely, we can look at alternative options.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
Mr. Chair, one question on that. I think it's more important that we get out into the municipalities, the different municipalities, for these night meetings. To me, that's more important because there is no law or statute saying that we have to stream those. Whenever we have night
Right.
meetings, we always have a large contingent of people. And I just think that we ought to keep that in mind while we're making that decision on to where we go. And we had it in Chickamine, but that was a hot issue in Chickamine about the road and
Yep.
everything else. But I would defer and suggest to Commissioner Wolfrell and Rayante to maybe have something in their district, because it's always nice for the people to see their commissioners have meetings in their districts. That's just my opinion.
Rayante has a meeting in his district just about every week.
I meant a municipal. In the district.
And I was gonna ask that question, is having not been here for a decision on where those night meetings are held before, do we reach out to our townships and ask if they'd like to host? What do we do with that?
So we would certainly, if there's a desire to have a little bit of the roadshow, if there's a desire to get out into the community, we can certainly do some outreach and try and find someone who's willing to host. I don't think it's going to be difficult to make that arrangement. We can look at schools, the college, we can look at City Hall, Township Hall. We can also look at the parks as an option. The downside to Silver Beach is it's a dice roll on weather. The upside is it's a pretty fantastic location. But as a lot of you will remember with Chickaming, weather was definitely a concern. Now it worked, but it was definitely pretty warm for some of the attendees. So what we'll try to do is start with a township hall, someplace that's already set up to be ADA compliant and is ideally suited to host public meetings.
Yes, sir.
Didn't we already have a list last year that we never completed?
Yes.
It's in that
Maybe
packet
back up.
that I sent.
Yep.
The 2020 list. We had 1839 courthouse, Chickamine, which then we ended up folding in 21.
Right.
MSU, Buchanan Area Senior Center, and Anchor Township.
Did you see the centers? They're large enough. That's what we have to think about. We're large.
What,
We do get a lot of people.
yeah, we do, and even if it's just the regular bill of fare in terms of our agenda, some folks who have never attended a county board meeting and don't have anything good to watch on TV that night might want to come and see what we do. So, and it might even be worthwhile to hit some places we haven't hit before or haven't been to in quite a while. And I mean, you know, the senior center in Buchanan always loves to have us and feeds us very well. Way too much empty calories, but those are sometimes the best. But there's other places that we've never gone to. Of course, no one can beat the food out at the MSU extension. So maybe we need to put something out there to the folks who are interested in hosting us that we really like the fresh fruit bowls and the sandwich rolls.
The cookies.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know one place that was really nice, and a lot of the commissioners here weren't there, but some of us were. That was beautiful area was Waco
yeah.
Beach.
Yeah.
And that was very nice
It was
also.
in the winter or something.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
if it's all right,
yeah.
I'm going to designate the new vice chair with the task of coming up with some spots,
Mhm.
talking to some township supervisors. And I recognize it's best to do this during daylight savings,
Yeah.
so people aren't having to drive home in the dark. I also recognize that it does impose an additional workload on staff every time we do this. Whenever we have a road show, people have to pack things up and take them along. And that certainly is appreciated. So, and if Shelley was here, we would thank her. So, well, seriously, appreciate the work that
I have a night.
So anyway, yes, I've got it. If you wouldn't mind, Terry, put some feelers out and, all right, with that, we'll approve the calendar as is, subject to tweaking it as we get through this lovely winter and look forward to spring. And by then, hopefully, some folks will tell us if they'd be interested in hosting and give us a proposed menu. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and seriously, we can always get food, because if we're meeting at 6 o'clock, people are gonna be hungry, and we can get some of those things wherever we've done different places. I know we've done Subway, we've done Jimmy John's, we've done Martin's, so there's all kinds of options,
Whatever's in that town.
yeah.
To the
Right.
board,
Right.
your last night meeting included a bus ride through a construction zone. We'll do our best to find something even bumpier, so we'll look for
It was big.
gravel roads.
90% of that was in my district. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And we had a lot of people. that
Okay,
A lot of
so
people.
is there a motion to approve the calendar as is for the time being?
So moved. So moved.
Moved by Freeling, supported by Worthel. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The calendar is approved and we shall note in the minutes. Conflict of interest waivers, same thing we do every year. If you've done one and it's still good from a year ago, just sign it again and date it 2022. Any questions about any of this? And at any time, if anyone has any questions on that sort of thing, Thaddeus is available. And I'm sure would be willing to help you through it. Pardon? Yes.
So last year we used a new form, so that we had that spot at the bottom where you would just sign if it hasn't changed. Because we had to do those virtually, I didn't have signatures on some of these, so please sign them if you would.
Yeah. When I was coming in alone. When I was the only one coming for a while.
Yeah, we see.
We had Hollywood Squares. So, do you get these back, Annette? Who do they go to?
I'll take them.
Okay.
Right, yeah, no, I get it, I just.
Yeah, so I have to sign it twice.
Yeah, if you haven't signed the original one,
We just cross out this.
yep.
Let me see
Yeah,
that.
I signed twice, because this was the only one that.
Sometimes-
Oh, and then I signed it too. She'll fill in the date.
So some people signed them and sent it back to me, because we had to do it electronically. That's the reason why. But some of them
All right, well, and that's gathering those up. Did you have anything else in that?
Oh, yeah. Sign it again.
Finance met last week. Madam Chair, would you like to share or designate someone to tell us about what
No,
you did?
I'm ready,
Okay.
kind of. What I would like to let you know is that we did have a meeting on December 30th at 9 a.m. by Zoom. And the people that were there, commissioners that were there, the committee, Commissioner Freeling, Commissioner Scott, Commissioner Yarborough. Also, our chairman, Mac Elliott was there, our administrator, Brian Dissett, and our director of finance, Doug James, and our secretary and finance person, Stephanie Carlson. Were there any others you can think of? And we had a very good meeting, and this is for the end of the year. And there are some things that we had to sign and had to do to be able to close out. But what Doug James let us know that there are days left and they'll keep updating. Things continue to come in, and there's money there because our original budget was 62 mil, this is the general fund, $62,567 was the original budget. And as of December 30th, or was it sooner than that, was December 30th, the date, or the 29th?
30th.
The 30th, we had spent $62,352,637. And that was $216,000 under budget. So we're doing well. Our departments are doing well. And I had $1.3 million.
Right.
What was that? Do you know? I write down things I don't know what it's connected to.
1 point,
Was that in our, that fund where we can go back and get?
that was in the, I believe the 1.3 was in the contingency.
Left in contingency.
Yeah, that was
I
in
think that's what it
contingency.
is.
Yeah.
And MMRA dollars are not counted in this. Why?
Yeah, the MMRMA dollars were just rolled back into the self-insurance fund. They're there
Okay,
in the event of claims being brought against the county.
okay.
Part of the self-insured retention.
Yeah.
There is a decrease in fund balance of $762,000. And oh, here we have a fund balance of $150,000 for more projects. There are things that are in the works. We have $1 million that we can use. And then up to $300,000 still is in fund balance. So we have money. We're not calling on fund balance, MMRA contingency, delinquent revolving fund. It's still there for things that are outstanding. We had to vote for a year-end resolution. It takes time to have all in. It needs 3 to 4 weeks more before that's all done.
That's the
Thank
resolution.
you. Thank you so much. This is the resolution that we signed. And is it anything that the other members would see? Or should I read it or what? It was signed by the committee. We accept it. It says, be it finally resolved by the Finance Committee delegates in according with Resolution F2011365 to the County Administrator / Controller, the authority to amend this resolution as necessary for successful and effective 2021 fiscal year conclusion. And we signed it. Thank you.
The only thing I was going to add to that is that's a resolution that is done through finance. That is one of the actions that we're tasked with. And so I don't know that it would have been distributed to the rest of the board, but it is an action item that we take. And
Okay.
the best thing that I can say is while MMRMA and contingency were budgeted in the 2021 budget, we weren't required to actually pull from that and draw from that. And so those monies will stay there to be able
The
to
same.
draw from and grow from.
Okay.
Put simply, all we're doing is closing out the fiscal year and ensuring that you don't have any deficit spending. What that action on the 30th did was ensure that as we move into the audit for this past fiscal year, that you have a clean audit.
Okay, thank you, Annette, for this.
That resolution actually is on our website under the finance committee, if you go there.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
have to sign it.
oh,
It's gotta
Okay.
be signed.
all right. And that is, would you all like to add anything more?
Madam Chair, I would. I would just like to let the board know that PHS is a very important committee. They recommend the steps and the hiring, also the union negotiations, but it should be understood that PHS would not be able to do their job if the finance committee didn't give them the money to do that job. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Duly noted.
I didn't know that.
And now, in the spirit of fairness and equal time, we will hear from the PHS committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While we don't approach such significant work as approving the purchase of hammers from AJ Hardware in Baroda, we do some other important things. Two things for you to consider today. First, Annette is passing out a draft. If you remember, I had distributed the old form used for evaluating the performance of the county administrator. So I've taken the liberty of gathering some of the input and reworking the form a bit. And so I'm giving this to you as a draft to have you continue to mark up, with the goal that we would like to conclude this here by the end of January. So if you could do this lickety split, I would really appreciate that. The second is that Commissioner Vice Chair Freeling noted that I had been negligent in my duties as PHSC Chair in completing a review of the board bylaws. And so Annette will be sending out for your review, your careful review, the bylaws. And if you have things that you find to be an error or things that you think should change, please communicate those to me, and then our committee will go through those and deem which ones are important to bring back to you for further discussion and consideration. So that's, I know the last time they were reviewed was, in the words of some of my fellow commissioners, was extremely painful. And so in this case, we're not going to do a complete overhaul. We're going to look to fine tune our bylaws so that everyone's comfortable with them. Duly noted. So you give it the attention you feel it warrants. That's my suggestion. So that would conclude the PHSC report.
Very good, thank you. And the draft was emailed to everyone yesterday by Annette, so you have it on your computer as well.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a question, Bob. We haven't had this for quite some time, but would PHS also like to review and do updates now that we have a corporate counsel to review that evaluation process? Because I believe there was a lot of issues with the last evaluation of the corporate counsel. I mean, as long as we're doing it now, I mean, we have to do this because it's due, but just so if there's any updates or whatever, now that we have an in-house corporate counsel.
A good suggestion. So actually with our administrator, we're doing the 21 and preparing for the 22 evaluation. And so once we get that done, then we'll move on to assessing the process for the corporate counsel evaluation. So good suggestion. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to public comments regarding resolutions. Comments regarding resolutions only. And that would be the 3 resolutions listed on the agenda immediately under where it says consent calendar, ending in 013, 060, and 107. Any public comments on those resolutions? Hearing none, a motion is in order to approve the consent calendar. Anyone wants to make it?
So moved.
Moved by Scott, supported by Bell. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
On our requisitions for today, Resolution B 22-01060. I've made the clerk aware of this, but I want to make the full board aware that I've abstained from requisition number 56714 for Rev excavation in the amount of $15,270 out of an abundance of caution. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns? All right, then, if the clerk will call the roll, understanding that an affirmative vote by Commissioner Freeling would include her abstention as to requisition number 56714. Madam Clerk?
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Borath,
Yes.
Willful,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes,
Bell,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes. I think that got approved. And that Finance Committee resolution that Chair Yarborough was talking about a minute ago did not require full board action. That's, Finance Committee has specific statutory authority to do that at the end of each budget year, which for us is a calendar year. So that's why it's not on the consent calendar. Commissioner reports going clockwise. Terry?
I'd just like to offer some thoughts about Mike Majerik's father, Ted. When I moved to Niles in 1980, both Ted and Marie, Mike's parents, took me under their wing and were great mentors, great community citizens. And I was, it's very sad to hear of his passing, but he was a tremendous leader in the Niles area as well as throughout Southwest Michigan, and something that we all could take great pride in. So my personal condolences, Mike.
No report.
Report. No report. I really don't have anything to say other than I'd like to welcome our new corporate counsel. And just remember that you share that with your work. I'm just saying. I'm doing my best. Yes, welcome. It's glad to have somebody sitting at the table over there with us in the board.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
and I have no report, except I just want to say Happy New Year, healthy New Year to all of us. And I was talking with Commissioner Freeling, and we decided we really like you all. We think we're doing good work, that we're working well together, and I thank you.
Thank you. Dave, did you have
Yeah, I
something?
just wanted to say, keep Sharon and her family in your prayers. Her husband, Denny, if you know Denny Gross, he's having surgery today, I believe.
Hmm.
Keep him in your prayers.
Thank you. Did you have anything else? I also knew your dad and your mom, your dad more. And probably going back to the 70s. And I can remember he helped me get some textbooks that I couldn't get at the bookstore up at Western. I don't know how he did that, but he did. And helped me sell them later. I don't even think he took a fee for that. But no matter how old they are, there's never a good time to say goodbye to your parents. And so God and time help, and eventually the pain is replaced by fond remembrances. But I think we all are with you in thought and spirit. Sure. Now, since the administrator left, he does not get to make a report. We will skip that item. Oh, Brian, did you have anything under
Yeah.
administrator's report? Okay.
So, number one, welcome to Thaddeus. I'm thrilled to have him here, and I'm going to do my very best to just wear him out. For next week, The board has seen a variety of emails with questions about masking in schools, out of schools, quarantines, et cetera. For next week, Guy Miller will be presenting as part of Committee of the Whole. Guy is going to tag team the issue with Eric Hopstock from RISA. We're going to do our best to address some of these lingering questions that I know that you all have been getting emails about, likely getting social media posts about, et cetera. So Guy and Eric will be here. And that's intended just to talk about the current state of COVID, talk about the current state of quarantines, availability of vaccines, et cetera, but then also just dive into some of these lingering questions about the county's role, the school's role, and how those work together. So that's next week, 8:35. Avonmarsh and Pearson are nearing completion of the physical on-site assessments of the buildings, our various sites, our various parks, et cetera. This is something that they'll be moving into the written documents, and I would anticipate probably in the next month, we're at a point where we need to start engaging the board on just going through all of our properties. And I would ask you all, just give some thought to what you think the best way to manage those conversations will be. Is it through committee on committee to committee of the whole? Is it through admin? I'm not sure. This is something that is going to take quite a bit of time because it is multiple buildings and we're trying to go through with a fine-tooth comb. I don't need an answer now, but I would ask you all just to give some thought to the best way to manage that process. Same issue, different topic. It's Jim Hettinger. So we are nearing the point where the board will either need to take action or ask for significant edits. I've received feedback from Commissioner Curran, Gold Star, Commissioners Freeling and Werfel also have offered feedback. They've agreed to meet with Jim to work through their questions, comments. Jim has made very clear to me that, Jim Hettinger, sorry, that he is willing to have those meetings on a one-to-one basis. He's willing to come and meet with Committee of the Whole. Everything is on the table. So what I'm trying to do is for any of you that have significant questions you need to work through, just give me the high sign and we will set time and we will spend, if it's an hour, if it's 3 hours, we will work through that. My goal is to beat that document up to the point that you all are ready to say, yes, you're ready to adopt. The importance of the document is then it provides a roadmap for the use of the ARPA dollars. And that's investments in county-owned properties, its potential grant making as an option to the local units, and on and on. The reason that I'm going to be a little pushy on this is that that clock is ticking. We need to have those funds earmarked and spent by the end of 2024. If we have projects in the queue prior to the end of 24, you can have those run all the way out to 26. But yesterday, 2 days ago, I met with Sean from Pearson, and I just asked him the question. If we give you a blank check today and said, build a new juvenile center, what's your timeline? And he said, realistically, 1.5 to 2 years. If he was told to go today and contracts and dollars weren't an issue, that's how much time will be needed to put up a facility like that. Well, that's just one of multiple facilities that we've got to address. So take a look at the document and just let me know if you are desirous of sitting down with Jim. We will make it happen. And that is my list.
Very good, thank you. General public comments now are open. Just come on up, 2 minutes. Anything under the sun, 2 minutes.
Good morning, Melissa Clapper, St. Joseph Charter Township. Happy New Year to all of you. I had to go and kind of dust off my comments, but I did find them regarding night meetings. I too agree that I think it's very important that we have night meetings. I know that we scaled back some of them. We were up to like 7 or 8, and then I left for a little bit, and I scaled them back. So I'm back again to say it, that I think it's very important. Also would like to, for some consideration, that, we do have 4 meetings a month. We can do more than one night meeting. I would even suggest that the second night meeting, to make it easier, while realizing all the extra work that others have to do in order to prepare for a night meeting, that the second night meeting could also just be here, which would make it a lot easier. People don't come because they don't really realize what they do, what you all do. I didn't know. I thought I did until I started coming. The only other thing that I would suggest is that people don't really have a clue on what you're voting on at 10:30 because they weren't here at 8:30 and at 9:15 to hear the different conversations that went on. So unless there's additional conversation that happens at the regular meeting, people just kind of go, oh, okay. Happens a lot of places. St. Joe Charter Township is notorious. I go to those, and if you aren't there for the noon meeting, you really don't have a clue on what happened and how that all meeting came about. And they also are set up to do streaming, so just so you know. So anyway, again, I thank you all for the work you do. I think it's important that people attend. I think people, even if they don't know what they don't know, they need to find out what it is they don't know that they don't know. So again, I appreciate and I hope you can do it. And again, thank you to Annette for everything that she does, because you all know you would never get as far as you do if she didn't take care of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
First off, Happy New Year, Michael Albert Hoy, 282 City of Benton Harbor. It's kind of with a little heavy heart, I'm here to share with you that Dr. Jefford Richards has passed away. I knew Dr. Richards from 1990 when I was at Berrien Hills Country Club as a waiter. He was a city commissioner for the city of St. Joseph. He was also the mayor of St. Joseph. In 1990, I started working as a waiter at Berrien Hills Country Club. He was in the Twilight, Friday Night Twilight Golf. He also, and I'm pretty sure of this, he was with the Blue Ball Club, where in the middle of December, in January, they would go out and play golf at Berrien Hills Country Club. It's called the Blue Ball Club. Judge Hammond, Mr. Banyan, we call him Old Man Banyan, Mr. Preston, and Mr. Schneblin, and a whole bunch of them would go out and they play golf with a blue tennis ball. They play all 19 holes. I remember him from that. But, the celebration of life is going to be tomorrow, Friday from 11 a.m. There's visitation tonight from 5 to 7 at Niles. He's a great mentor of mine. His passions were animals, and it's a passion of mine. And I just took a photograph of him at his retirement party on October 25th with Mayor Mike Gary. Thank you. And that was my last memory of him, and I posted that on Facebook. So thoughts about that. The other one is Mr. Judge Tom Nelson. He does not have COVID. He did not have COVID. That's from his wife Prudy, but it was taken down, and he's doing much better at this time. The reason I bring that up because he's on the board member for the Berrien County Historical Association, and he's doing much better. Get your zinc going, everybody. Get those masks going and things. Maybe the next 4 weeks, because of my time that I work at Bronson up in South Haven at the Wellness Center, we know the next 4 weeks are going to be very, very heavy on us. And please take care of yourself. If we just put into the notes, primarily for Mr. Jeff Richards. And lastly, on the way back coming home from South Haven this week, I hit a raccoon on Riverside Road, and it was a big fat cat, and I thought it was a hog. And he's laying out there, the Riverside Cafe. I've had many of my birthday parties out there to make the best BLT sandwiches. I don't recommend the hamburgers this week, but Kathy knows. I went back to Kathy to get a shovel, and the guys from BZ Construction actually have been feeding this big pot. I mean, this thing almost took out my front door, okay? And that's my time. I wanted to leave with something a little funny there. So again, okay. Happy New Year, everybody.
You too. Anyone else wish to be heard on culinary matters or anything else? Okay, other business. Anyone have any other business? The draft statement that was sent around last night, heard from some folks. Did everyone get a chance to look at it? Is everyone okay with it? All right, we're hoping that there will be a fast track decision by the United States Supreme Court which is giving every indication that there will be by the speed with which they have brought together the conflicting circuit decisions, Federal Court of Appeals decisions for hearing tomorrow. And that would suggest to me that we won't be waiting long to hear from the Supreme Court. Back when I was in law school, I had occasion to do research on the legislative history of OSHA, how that all came about, occupational safety and health, and the old sweatshops and child labor and people working a gazillion hours a week in conditions that were hazardous. There was a time in this country when lots of people died at work. And so there was a need for safety in the workplace, and there are companion state laws. We have MyOSHA. And the legislative history is illustrative because, as Thaddeus can tell you, one of the things the courts do is look at legislative histories to find out congressional intent. And if you look at the legislative history of OSHA, and I haven't looked at it in 40 years, but some things do still stay with you. Once you learn them, you don't unlearn them. There was nothing in it about this, particular subject, which would suggest to me, based on my legal scholarship, that it would require congressional action, a change of the law. So those things originate in Congress and then go to the president for signature and then ultimately are reviewed by the court. All three branches have something to say about it. No one branch gets to be the legislature and the executive and the judicial all together. Although there are times that we've accused certain agencies of acting like they are. But in any event, knowing that we have this coming up and hope to have a decision soon, this statement will be available on our website and will be part of our record of proceedings today. As follows: in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, on November 5, 2021, OSHA issued an emergency temporary standard, ETS, requiring that employers with over 100 employees require their employees to either be vaccinated or wear a protective face covering and take weekly tests while in the workplace. If this standard survives all legal challenges, it will soon go into effect. While Berrien County must prepare expeditiously for the possibility that this mandatory rule goes into full effect, the Board of Commissioners continues to closely monitor the ongoing legal developments related to the rule. The county will be prepared to comply with the OSHA requirement if the U.S. Supreme Court determines that it is constitutional. Otherwise, the county will not implement such a vaccination testing policy. End of the prepared statement. Anyone have any comments they wish to add? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know, our commissioners' employees?
Yes, ma'am. We get W-2s.
Yes, we do.
Any other comments, questions? If anyone's ever gone to the racetrack, horses, whether it's fancy hats and everything at Churchill Downs or some other place, there are betting windows. If you bet across the board, you're betting on a horse to win, place, or show. Be first, second, or third. If MyOSHA proceeds to enforce this, I would not bet on them to win, place, or show if it comes down to judicial review. I am willing to predict either a 6-3 or 7-2 vote on the Supreme Court, which finds this action to be unconstitutional. So I know we have employees who are kind of on pins and needles right now. We have to comply with the law, even if we think a law is not well reasoned. But I fully expect this will be struck down. So with that, any other comments? Yes, sir.
This has nothing to do with that. I just wanted to publicly state, as I'm sure the rest of the board will agree with me, I want to appreciate all of the hard work that Annette has done for us as the board. I appreciate all the staff here in the admin building that works tirelessly to get our agendas put together and get all the paperwork to us. I want to thank our administrator, wherever he's at, and he's leaving now, for the job that he has done. But mostly, I want to thank our board chair for your dedication and your leadership that you've given this board. And I want you to know that I appreciate it, as I'm sure the rest of the board appreciates it. Thank you very much.
No, I mean, with what you just read, there's a little thing that says, if it passes.
Well, what happens,
Or do we have to,
what happens is if the US Supreme Court justices happen to watch our meetings and know that we've put that statement out there, I think it's a done deal. They're gonna strike it down. But beyond that, we wait and see. Oral arguments tomorrow. And I expect we'll know something very soon after.
Mr. Chair, can I follow up?
Sure.
So some of you may hear complaints from staff that they don't want to see a vaccination or testing policy. I understand that. What we are doing today is this afternoon, department heads and some of our elected officials will meet with a labor attorney just to review if the ETS is pushed through and upheld at the federal level, what the timelines would look like at the state level for MIOSHA to implement a policy. Fast track, you probably have between 60 and 90 days. This is nothing that has to be addressed today, tomorrow, next week. If, and this is the big if the rule survives at the various judicial challenges, we would then bring forward a draft policy, run it through PHS. We would then bring it to the full board. At no point would your staff be surprised. At no point would the public be limited in their ability to speak to their concerns about the policy. However, in my view, it is unwise to just sit and hope that you don't have to address the policy. We have roughly 800 staff. We need to be communicating with them that this is a rule that has been mandated by the federal government. It potentially could go into effect as early as January 10th. I don't believe that is likely to happen, but we aren't going to sit on our hands and just hope for the best. So staff have been notified about the rule. Departments have been notified about the rule this afternoon. Departments have been welcome in to just get the latest and greatest from outside counsel on where the rule sits. And as the chair stated, I think all of us as staff will be closely monitoring the situation tomorrow to figure out what the likelihood of that rule in its current format, what the likelihood of it surviving is.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make one comment I forgot earlier until our administrator brought it up. This is my personal opinion as a board member, but the one thing that bothers me about this OSHA standard, that's what you want to call it. The one thing that bothers me is that staff will have to pay for the testing. To me, that's unconscionable. We have received millions of dollars of COVID money. And I believe this could be a COVID-related expense, and I don't think our staff should have to pay for any testing whatsoever. We have gotten COVID money from the federal government. We should use that to supplement that. Just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, of course, where do you find a test?
Right.
Okay, well, the road to somewhere is paved with good intentions, and hopefully this will resolve soon. Announcements and reminders, the committees are meeting right after, albeit briefly if you wish. We're not meeting at 10:30. We'll be back on the regular schedule next week, 8:35 a.m. Committee of the whole, committees more or less 9:15, board meeting 10:30. And if there's nothing else, if I knew, I would tell you, but I don't know that there's any specific agenda today. Before we adjourn though, under sheriff, did you have anything for the board?
Not necessarily, though I appreciate Commissioner Scott's comments because with, if these employees, regular people, that we expect employees, we expect them to pay it. And I would also say, although we've been in operation, so hearing, if it becomes reality, which you very clearly articulated that, I would hope to provide those tests.
Right, and we'll be reviewing legal options as well, just as a contingency. Sometimes you have to comply with something, but you don't necessarily have to comply and forego challenging it. That's why we have courts of law. But we'll get all that information. It's good to have options. Don't know what they are at this point. Even if I did, I wouldn't necessarily want to say anything about it. But I think we'll find out very soon. And I know Thaddeus is going to be monitoring this and will keep us apprised.